folks, with Tacitus today, your pushback channel, and thank you for joining this audio radio live stream. In this essay, I'd like to talk about what appears to me, at least, to be a very curated and stage managed, white supremacy event. And there seems to be coordination across the Western world at the moment with the globalists sort of are concerned they're losing control of the agenda, and they ramped up the illegal and mass migration recently, and they're getting pushback against that. So they're doing what they always do. And they're reaching for the Nazi sort of lever, and anyone that disagrees, of course, is a Nazi. But they need, the supply of Nazis and white supremacists is just just not enough. The demand for white supremacist Nazis is far, 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 far greater than the actual supply. So when they can't produce them, because they pretty much don't exist, just because someone disagrees, mass migration doesn't make them a Nazi, but the globalists have to project it as such. So they have to invent them. If they're not there, they just invent them. And we see this in all over the United States. In Britain, they're going hard at it at the moment as well. Canada, of course. And in Australia is no different. The government here is controlled by the globalists. So at state and federal level, and often at local level for that matter. So they needed to produce some visuals of supposed Nazis, and so it was all put together. And certainly that's my take on it. I don't think these Nazis actually exist, and if they did, how are they worse than Hamas or the Black Power or BLM or Antifa or any of those? Anyway, let's just have a look at sort of what happened. I guess there was a few alleged instances, and I have to point out that if you go and wave a banner around saying Black Power, if you go and wave banners around saying from the river to the sea, and you kill all the Jews in the Middle East, you do any of that sort of stuff, and for some reason the government is powerless to stop you. The police are powerless. The politicians are reluctant to talk again. So you can do any of these sorts of things, and the state just isn't bothered. But if you put up saying it's okay to be white, or it's white people, Australia should be majority white, or migrants, should be majority white, so anything like that, and suddenly you're a neo-Nazi. In fact, you may even be Hitler personally. And suddenly the government is galvanized into action, and the courts and the police and the prosecutors go hysterical. The politicians, the hyperbolic sort of carry on from the politicians is just over the top, and they can't wait to just show their toughness. No, I'm a tough politician. This has no place in our society. Black Lives Matter torching things is fine. Antifa beating people up and murdering is fine. Hamas wanting the destruction of the Jewish state is fine. Black Power is fine. Anything of that's fine. But talk about white stuff, that's it. That's fascist Nazi fucking Hitler and the politicians. There's no place. Big, tough politicians. Those fucking globalist little stooge wimp fuckwits. Anyway, so one of the... One of these supposed neo-Nazi incidents was three guys in some suburban park in Sydney, who arrived at somewhere between 8, so it's reported, somewhere between 8 and 8:30 in the morning. They sat in this park for not doing anything. They just sat there, or apparently they walked up and down the park a couple of times. Ooh, scary. Three guys, they're dressed in black, white guys. They're dressed in black, and they've got like those COVID mask type things on. So they're dressed in black. Ooh, scary. And they're white. They're white guys, presumably straight. Oh, fuck. Straight white guys dressed in black. Oh, well, what else can it be? It must be Hitler. So, and then they leave. That's it. So that's a scary reporting. Oh, Nazis in suburbia. What did they actually do? What crimes did they commit? What offences did they commit? Can we just hear about it? No. They were just there sitting on the park bench, and that's a national headline. Okay, all right then. Wow. Then a group of 50 plus, I think it's between 50 and 60, although it's a bit vague. This is also in Sydney. Apparently all boarded the train. This is on a particular train line, boarded a train at a certain time. Now, this is quite a specific train line, so you can't access it from that many points. Like, it's a fairly direct point-to-point type service, this particular train line, going through quite a big train station. So they apparently boarded it all at the same place, which is very suspicious. Not suspicious in the sense of suspicious as in, oh, that proves they're Nazis, but suspicious in the sense that it seems to be curated and stage managed. It had that already. It's got that flavour about it. Now, the police, because the danger is so great, the police are apparently all across this. They know it's happening. They've got every detail. They know pretty much who's going to be there, how many are there. They know that it's been planned. They've got all this sort of information in advance. Now, these are the same police that are powerless to stop the Hamas, powerless to stop Antifa, powerless to stop Black Lives Matter, powerless to stop activists, the rioters from any other flavour or description or for any other reason. But they're all across this. Now, that alone is suspicious. Why do they have so much power and so much intelligence and knowledge of this? But they are absolutely powerless to stop or prevent or limit any of the other stuff. Now, the only difference is here that these guys are all male and white. That's the only difference that I can tell. They've broken no law. They've committed no crime. So the police then take over, as I understand it, reading the news reports, the police then take over an entire train. The train station is cleared of all citizens and travellers and so the police move in, the hairy-chested police that are powerless to stop any of these other things. But straight white guys, they have all the power they need, all the power plus. So they clear the entire train station, supposedly, to intercept these neo-Nazis, to stop Hitler. And so they go to extraordinary measures. The resources that are available, the powers the police have are extraordinary, and they're exercising them, by the way. Do they want to arrest the Hamas sort of flag wavers and the Black Power Antifa? No. The climate change people, they want to arrest them? No. The difference here is they're straight white, and they've been branded as Nazis. Now, what are the Nazis' things that they've said or done? Now, they must have committed some sort of crime. They must have. The Hamas has been, saying some very unpleasant thing about Jews. Surely that would qualify. Why aren't they accused of being Nazi or something? Why aren't the police arresting them? Why aren't they being intercepted when they assemble to go on a street march or a protest? But no, the police are powerless to stop them. But this, the police have infinite power, and they're all across it. So, but no one's explained what sort of crimes have been committed. I've looked over the press, certainly all I can find, the press thing, and the globalist control media is the MSNBC type stations. They've been gab-festing their asses off, neo-Nazis, Nazis, white supremacists, fascists, Hitler. They've been going, absolutely full bore on this. And clearly relishing it as they talk about these Nazis that are everywhere. The left-wing sort of media outlets, the Guardian, that sort of stuff, they're absolutely gagging with delight that all these Nazis have been discovered. So I was just watching the footage, and one of the signs that they were holding up, which looked very much like, it's almost like a perfect globalist talking point. It's the globalist interpretation of what a Nazi would do in, white supremacy. It's that. It's not what somebody would actually do. It's their interpretation of it. A bit like I noticed in some of the marches in the United States, where conveniently there's always someone holding a swastika that looks like it's just been taken out of the bag or out of the packing, and the media that ruthlessly goes out to identify anybody involved in the protest somehow is unable to identify the guy holding the Nazi flag, or say in the January 6th thing, the government is totally unable to identify the 200 plus FBI agitator agents that were in the crowd stirring up trouble. I just don't know who they are. And this is pretty much the same sort of thing. So they're holding up a sign. I think it said, white people for Australia or Australia for white people, something wording like that. And now, in the era of mass migration and multiculturalism, that's kind of not a message that's going to go down well with the people who were pushing multiculturalism and mass migration, and they want it stopped, the globalists, and so fine. Now, it's something that I personally happen not to agree with. If somebody speaks good English and they're well qualified and they've got the work experience or something, they should be welcomed into Australia wherever they come from, if they have and meet those requirements. Now, the majority of people that will meet those requirements just so happens to be white, because the English-speaking countries are white, or primarily white, Britain, Canada, wherever, US, and the sort of first world skills and work experience will tend to be other white countries. And those could be, France, Germany, Denmark or something. So the chances are that if you have higher academic and job qualification standards and language standards, the majority of people would be white, who would migrate to a place like Australia, and who would meet those standards. And that's the exact opposite of what the globalists want. They want to bring masses of black and brown peasants into the West who are illiterate in their own language, and have may never have had a job, or have any qualifications. So anyway, I struggled, but I couldn't find any crime or even misdemeanor for that matter. So they've used the catch-all thing of these people. What were they doing? Well, they were spreading hate. Spreading hate, that's it. Well, can we define, what does that mean? Well, it means whatever the fuck we want it to mean. And so it's a very political and ideological interpretation. But Hamas spreading hate, aren't the activists and the Black Lives Matter and Antifa and the climate change, aren't all these people spreading hate? And if is there different standards of hate, that if a white guy does it, it's hate, but if anyone else does it, it's not? How does that work exactly? Now, I'm one of these people that actually wants clearly codified law. So if these so-called neo-Nazis, and again, it's a parade of actors in my view, but if this so-called neo-Nazis require this bigger police response, shutting down of a train station, close monitoring, arrest, detention, like I think 60 of them were supposedly arrested, and for what? Spreading hate, as I understand it. But what does that even mean? If the spreading hate applies to them in that way, and that's fine if it does, then exactly that same standard must be applied to all the other groups. And so they have to arrest tens of thousands of Hamas protesters. Climate change, they all have to be arrested and charged, because the same standard must be applied to all of them. But that's not the case here. So we've got an invented, choreographed, stage-managed, supposed Nazi white supremacist thing that's been put up there. I think it's all a load of nonsense. I don't think there were any. I think it was all bought and paid for, little parade for the camera so the politicians could act all tough and go, has no place in it to say. Well, neither has the Hamas stuff. Neither does the climate change protest to shut down entire cities for hours. Neither has the Antifa. Neither has the BLM. Neither has the black activism that we see in Australia. None of that has a place in a society where everyone has to be accepting of each other and try and get on. And none of it has a place. But that's not how it's working out. It's only bad when straight white males do it. And that's not the law. That's ideology. You've been with Tacitus today, your Pushback channel. Thank you for listening.